We also understand why the GST was being required. GST was not required from a political point of view. It was required more from a global pressure. India signed off World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization told that look at taxes in your country. If I coming and manufacturing a bicycle, if I manufacture a bicycle in Kerala, I'll pay a different rate. If I manufacture a bicycle in UP, I am going to pay different state with different tax. So how is that I want to structure my business and various tax laws? Which businessman from outside the country would be coming and doing an business in your country? So I'll give you a small overview of the basic framework of the GST, some thought process of why it came and why it is something which is very unique and different. I'll also take you through some challenges way forward, then we'll going for the question answer. So can I have the next slide? So just giving you an overview, what is a GST? GST, as most of you in this session would be aware, it is a goods and service tax. It is an indirect tax. For the people who actually doesn't know the technicalities between the direct and indirect tax, I would just want to take a moment and explain. So as most of you are aware that for the functioning of the government, for the development of the infrastructure in the country, government requires money. So the money has been collected in form of tax from all the citizens of India. So they opt to collect in two ways. One is a direct tax. A simple example is your income tax, what you pay, where you earn an income and you pay a certain amount of income to the government for the benefit of the country, infrastructure development for the country. Second is an indirect tax. So indirect tax, what happens is that in the indirect tax, you would be collecting the tax from the consumer, not directly, but through the seller or a shopkeeper or a vendor. Say, for example, I go and buy medicines in the medical store, and when I buy the medical medicines, I have been charged GST. I shell out GST from my pocket. But that has not been directly paid by me to the government. It is been paid by me to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper in turn pays to the government. So because the government is indirectly collecting the tax from me, it becomes a indirect tax. So that's the basic concept of GST. Widely, the collection of GST and the impact of GST is high. If you are aware that we have kept agriculture out of the tax net. So there is no income tax on agriculture. That means the farmer, can we say that the farmer is not paying any tax at all in India? Answer is absolutely no. The farmer also consumes a lot of things, right? He buys a motor vehicle, he buys a TV, or he goes to a restaurant, or he buys a lot of groceries and various other items. All these items he is paying a tax as a recipient. So the concept of they being totally kept outside and immune for taxes is only from a compliance point of view, that they need not take a registration, they need not pay tax, but as a recipient they also pay the tax equally as what we are paying as a citizens in India. So that is the way indirectly the tax has been collected, and thereby you look at the GST collections is going high because of the consumption being there. And GST is a unified tax for both supply of goods and services. Prior to introduction of GST, we had a separate what you call the taxes for goods, separate for services. For services we were paying service tax, and for goods we were paying central excise and VAT. So this GST is a common tax between goods and services. Of course, immovable property has been kept outside the tax net. So that is something which was being able to achieve as far as the GST is concerned. Another important aspect which we need to understand is that this is a two-tier structure. That means GST is being levied parallelly by the central government and the state government on the same event, that is supply of goods or services. So here it is very important for us to understand that how prior to GST, the taxation was shared between the state and center. Prior to GST, there was a different taxable events, and these taxable events were shared between the center and state. Say for example, one taxable event was manufacture, and there was a levy called as central excise for manufacture of goods. So this was been given to the center to administer and collect the tax. Sale of goods was given to the states for collection and make the payment of tax. Sale of goods interstate was given to the center. So various aspects were identified and the tax was being given. So it's a very interesting for us to understand that what does this aspect mean, right? It's slightly technical, but I'll make it very simple because you need to understand this, how things were been there and how it has been progressed now. There was a case of chartered accountants, All India Federation of Tax Practitioners Association. They challenged the levy of service tax imposed on chartered accountants, stating what? We are already paying professional tax. Now you are asking us to pay service tax. This amounts to duplication of tax. The matter went to the courts, Supreme Court. Supreme Court told, I am not sure why you are getting confused. Let me explain how the taxation works. You being a professional, you are paying professional tax. You rendering the service in professional capacity, you are paying service tax. After giving a service, you have earned an income, you are paying income tax. That income you have invested in a property, you are paying property tax. The property is a wealth, you are paying wealth tax. All are different, don't confuse yourself. But if you look at the source is only one. Client gives me one money, isn't it? But it is all a different aspects which is been separately identified. So what was done in the previous law was that each aspects were shared among the state and center, various things that you being a professional was shared with the state and you providing the service was shared with the center. So there was a lot of confusion and overlapping which was been happening. Now what they did when the GST came, the framework was, they told, let's forget about various aspects. We will only concentrate on one aspect, that is supply of goods or services in any form. And both let the center and the state tax the same thing on the same aspect. Each one of you will take your respective share. So that is a different thought process which has been coming as far as the GST prior to, if you look at the law prior to that. Now what happens because of this? Because of this, the multiple compliances, multiple confusions, businessman doesn't understand, okay, he has to pay professional tax, he also has to pay service tax, various things got eliminated, and overall there will be only two tax. One is the GST for indirect tax and an income tax for your direct tax, and rest everything eventually get merged into these two. That's a broader objective, so that the taxation becomes simplified in India and it is the business. That's the broader perspective of a GST which has been introduced. Another thing of a GST is a destination-based tax. This was a game changer as far as the business is concerned. Prior to introduction of GST, if I make a sale sitting in Hyderabad to a customer who is there in Bangalore, I was charging a levy called as CST, Central Sales Tax. CST was being charged. 4% was being charged. Now this 4% was paid by my customer in Bangalore, but he was not given an offset of this tax, set off of this tax. and this amount was remitted to government of Telangana, not the government of Karnataka. Now GST came and they changed this thought process, saying that if there is a sale happening from one state to another state, in the example which I gave, the GST levied has to be going to the credit of the Karnataka government, not the Telangana government. Now this is a very, very big, incredible change which has come in. Initially, states were totally objecting this, especially the states like Tamil Nadu. Jayalalitha, when she was there, she was very, very against this entire concept. What was their problem? Their problem is that, oh, you are Hyundai or you are a Mercedes Benz, okay? You come to my state, I will give you land at a throwaway price, I will give you subsidized electricity, I will give you all the licenses, permissions. You manufacture a car is worth 1 crore, the duty on tax is 32 lakhs, sell it to a person who is there in Karnataka and pay the tax to the Karnataka government. Now what I am going to get? Right? So do you think it is an injustice? There is a logic in this, people. So that is what generally is being looked at and concluded. But if you look at the GST framework, they have gone beyond this. What they have looked at, let us understand, the person who has paid 32 lakhs is residing where? He is residing in Karnataka. Now when a 32 lakhs is being paid, whether the 32 lakhs should be used for laying roads in Karnataka where he will drive his car, or in Telangana where he will never come and drive his car, where the infrastructure should be done. Obviously, if I am paying in my state, it should be spent for my welfare where I stay. So thereby, the person who paid was in Karnataka, the tax was given to Karnataka government to spend for the welfare in the Karnataka state. So this is the change as far as the GST is concerned compared to the previous law. And now, because the Karnataka government is getting this tax, they also allowed set-off of purchases made from different state, because earlier they were not giving a set-off because this money was never with me. Money was with the selling state, not the buying state. Now the buying state has the money, they are giving a set-off. So thereby what happened, after GST, the interstate trade has tremendously increased. Earlier when I was selling, even if I am giving a good price or a good quality, it was becoming 4% costlier or 12% costlier for the person who is buying in the other state, because he was not getting a set-off. And thereby the trade was never happening. More local within the state trades were happening and not across the state. Even if it was happening, it was adding cost to the end consumer. Now that has been removed because of the GST framework. Now there is 5 rates of tax. Most of you would be aware of this 5 rate of tax. Can I go to the next slide, please? We also understand why the GST was being required. GST was not required from a political point of view. It was required more from a global pressure. India signed off World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization told that look at taxes in your country. If I coming and manufacturing a bicycle, if I manufacture a bicycle in Kerala, I'll pay a different rate. If I manufacture a bicycle in UP, I am going to pay different state with different tax. So how is that I want to structure my business and various tax laws? Which businessman from outside the country would be coming and doing business in your country? Because you don't have a unified tax. It is different. Very difficult for you to understand. So if you want to be global competent, get a tax which is uniform throughout the country. There should not be a difference. If I'm putting up a manufacturing unit either in Kanyakumari or in Kashmir, it should be the same. So that is what is achieved, and that is what was the major reason why the GST was required. Of course, again, to remove the tax arbitrage, some cases what was happening is there was a live example of mobile phones. Mobile phones in few states, the rate of tax was 4%. In few states, they were taxing at 12.5%. So obviously people were going to other state, buying that mobile phone there. I'm coming back because there is going to be a rate arbitration which was being there. and thereby a lot of business was being lost by the state where 12.5% was being levied. So this arbitration has been removed, and they are able to achieve the commonality. So this is another thing which has been required. Okay, so next slide please. What is great in introduction of GST? I feel this is the one of the best achievement, great achievement which has happened. Even the UPA government tried it in the past, they were not able to get it through, but BJP were able to get it through, and this is not something which has happened is easy. It's a big milestone by itself. It's an achievement by itself. Why? Because for introduction of GST, there was a requirement of amendment of the Constitution of India with a 2/3 of majority. They were able to successfully do that. Next came is a second challenge. The GST law was not only required to be passed in the parliament, it was supposed to be passed in all the state assemblies and the union territories. All states were supposed to be passed in the same form without any amendment, without any change. And this was being done. Everybody came into a common understanding. Nobody disputed. Whatever is there was ironed out, and they passed the law as is common all over the country. Decision making. What rate has to be happening, when the tax has to be levied, what rate it has to be levied, what to be collected, what to be exempted. This was a state prerogative earlier when it comes to VAT. They could have decided what they want for their state. But now it is a collective efforts. All the state finance minister and the union minister has to sit and discuss this particular matter. I think today or tomorrow the council meet is also scheduled. So they are sitting together and discussing it. So getting this sort of a collective decision making, entire state coming together is a remarkable achievement. With various political scenarios we have in the country, people are coming together. Another thing is the rationalization of rates. There are different rates, they were able to get it into 5 rates. So coming to a common consensus is very, very important. In Andhra Pradesh, the rice was not being taxed, it was exempted. Karnataka was taxing the rice. So whether we need to put it into exemption, put it into tax, what is going to be the profit, what is going to be the gain, getting into a common path was a breakthrough achievement which has been happening. And also sharing the revenue without disputes. Of course, there are some states keep on complaining we have not got the money, but still largely the revenues have been distributed and a mechanism they are able to get out ambiguity to settle it. So this is the great thing about introduction of GST. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is a small graph of the collection which has been taken by the CBIC website. So if you look at we are doing a year-on-year growth of 11% of tax collection, whereas our economy is growing at a rate of 5 or 6%. So here we are looking at a collection of 11%. So what does this indicate? This indicates that a lot of people who were doing an evasion, who are not in the tax net, we are able to convert them and get them into the tax net. So the collections has crossed 1.85 lakh crores is the collection, and the benchmark has been more than 1.5 crores. Consistently from April to September, we are crossing more than 1.5 lakh crores. So if you look at the comparison, it's every year, every month compared to last year, we are overachieving. Next slide, please. So what is the benefit which has happened? As I told, the trade has opened up across the country, thanks to GST, thanks to technology. Today the platform, online platforms, we are able to list a small baker, homemaker, a baker at home is able to list his or her product in a e-commerce platform, and they are able to make the sale across the country. Not only within the different states of the same country, across the country, because the taxation rates are same, tax arbitration advantage has been removed. So this is something which has given a good benefit for various people. Then movement of goods has become quick. Earlier we had a check post approach. Everybody has to pass through the check post. There is a lengthy queue. So the movement was becoming slow. Here the movement is become very, very quick. Multiple law compliance has been reduced. So earlier I was to file GST return, VAT returns. I had to pay central excise returns, service tax returns, all different compliance, different assessment. Now everything come under one banner. So this has reduced, and the advantage of the business, people are able to see, they are able to concentrate more on their business and less on this tax compliance. And technology has also helped people. We are moving towards the e-invoicing. So one fine day, there is going to be a e-invoice being generated online for all business to business transaction. If this happens, nothing more compliance is required to be done, because everything gets automated. Your vendors are generated e-invoice, you have generated e-invoice, everything gets auto-populated in your returns, and your compliance becomes very, very easy. You need not spend more time. So that is what is going to happen eventually in 1 or 2 years.